professional baseball doesn't want to develop players. They want to get players to the big leagues as fast as they can get them there, so they can maximize their premium years of production at the lowest financial rate possible.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that one of the biggest differences when you look at the history of the draft from 1965 to the present. You're looking at the finished athlete versus the unfinished athlete. And baseball for decades was far more interested in the unfinished athlete. We'll draft you, we'll develop you in our system, right? We don't want anybody messing with you, because then we're going to have to undo the habits that you learned. And now, because as you get to free agency in 1975, you start to get more and more and more, the money goes up as high, and now you have to pay for these athletes. Now you want somebody else to develop them. I mean, you start looking at the 80s, believe it or not, is the last golden age of the unfinished, player, especially the unfinished black player. You're looking at, the Eric Davises of the world and the Darryl Strawberries of the world, these guys that didn't go to college. You're looking at them going straight to the big leagues. That is a thing of the past. So today what you need is you need them to get up to the big leagues as fast as possible, to have somebody else develop them. And then you can use your scouting and development and your resource money elsewhere.
Well, and a classic example of that too would be Kyler Murray. That was a loss for us in baseball, unfortunately. That was a huge. Why would this guy who signed and was drafted high choose to go play in a much more violent sport that has less longevity to it than to take the baseball route? And that was one of those things that when that happened for me as a baseball player and being at an HBCU at that time and wanting to get more black kids playing the game, was like,
you know what, Kerrick? I was with Ricky Henderson. We were in Mesa at the A's complex when Kyler Murray signed. He was with us. So we had Kyler Murray, he was there, and Ricky, and we were sitting on the bench. And I think Kyler left the day after. And I was asking Ricky, because Ricky still believes he could play both baseball and in the NFL right now, right? I was asking him, because he was in a similar position. He was going to go to Arizona State. He wanted to follow Reggie. He wanted to come to Tempe. And instead, obviously, we know the famous story that his mother, told him he was going to get hurt if he played. So he played baseball instead. And he was like, I understand Kyler Murray completely, because I was Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray plays baseball, but Kyler Murray knows football. And I was the same way. He goes, I used to play baseball, but I know football. And to hear that is a really tough place to be, because what you're really saying is, I'm good enough to play this, but this is my passion. And that is exactly the opposite of what it was coming up. Maybe it was always this way. And it was simply that baseball was far more attractive because the money was bigger and the security was bigger. But when Ricky said that, that struck me. That sounded very similar to Jameis Winston. It sounds very similar to Russell Wilson. It sounds very similar to Kyler Murray. I mean, let's not forget, there's a lot of black people playing baseball out there. There aren't a lot of black people necessarily at that high level choosing baseball over football or over another sport if they have world-class ability.
Do you actually think that, because I think about representation as well, the people that are in a player's ear and explaining to them what the process truly is and how they could or would impact the system as a whole. And we all know who represented Kyler, and I don't know that conversation took place about the impact that he could have absolutely had on the game. And would his decision have been any different, or at least been more impacted by those conversations?
Well, I love what Kerrick was saying. Go ahead, Kerrick.
Well, I agree with what Lonnie's saying. I think with Kyler, probably the other part to it too was there were too many people saying that he couldn't do it in football, and his makeup, from what I knew it to be, was, okay, I'm going to show you. Because my understanding, had he not gone in the picks where he went, he probably is not playing football right now. If he's not that lottery top 10 pick and he would have fell outside of that, he probably is playing baseball.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like what you were saying earlier about this is one of the things that we teach. We constantly teach that the closer you get to whiteness, the better off you're going to be. So this is something that we don't have to unlearn it. We have to fight it. constantly fighting it. Who's in your ear? Who is giving you the advice? Who is your counsel? And what are your values? That this may not be a value to your agent, but it may be a value to you, to be able to be that person who is the inspiration, and that there are gonna be kids who say, I'm playing this sport because of you.